As a great philosopher once observed,
Did you know most people use 10% of their brains? I am now one of them.
a fun fact about that is that everyone actually uses 100% of their brain. Well, most people. It's just that 10% of their brains are activated at any one time, which is something that I learned in this book right here, which is coming up later in the video here. But after reading and taking detailed notes on 1,300 books ever since I started counting way back in 2014, I can confidently say that these 10 books will help you use 10% of your brain too. There's actually a great mix of books here too. See, the first one is excellent if you've fallen out of love with reading for whatever reason. Maybe you used to read a lot when you were younger, but then you kind of just fell out of the habit and you want to get back into it. This first book's going to be perfect for you. The fourth book on this list will help you decide whether university is right for you or if you can just skip it entirely and still live a great life. The last book is a severely underrated book that will prepare you for the wild future of humanity and the skills you absolutely must possess to thrive in the future and build a fantastic life for yourself while adapting to all this crazy technological change we're experiencing now. So the first book is called The Pleasures of Reading in an Age of Distraction by Alan Jacobs. He says a lot of the same things that I want to say about reading, and he takes a lot of the pressure off people with all these ridiculous lists like 100 books you must read to be considered well-read before you die or something like that. Like, it's all nonsense, right? You just read what you love until you love to read. So you can ignore all the people that may be, better read than you are, or have read some certain book that you haven't, or, they read a certain number of books a year. Like, I keep track of every book that I read. I find it motivating to keep track, but you absolutely do not have to. Reading is not a race, and even if it was, there's no finish line. It covers a lot of ground in this book, and you can get all of my notes from this book and every other book that I mention in this video down in the video description. Basically, what he says is that the world doesn't need fewer readers. So if books have ever even once ignited your curiosity or your passion for reading, then you have to do whatever it takes in order to keep that fire alive. That's what's most important, and not which books you've ticked off some list. But we'll keep going with my list here, and the next book is called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant by Eric Jorgensen. Now, Naval is a super successful tech investor. His podcasts, interviews, and everything have been viewed, listened to, everything, millions and millions of times. Basic idea of this one is that being rich and happy are both learnable skills. You can get better at both of those things, and what's really important to understand here too is that where you start off does not have to be where you end up. Like, you can make changes, and Naval has himself. Like, the truth of his ideas have been played out in his life. Like, he didn't have much money in the beginning. He wasn't all that happy. And now he's, very rich and very happy. He had to work at both of those things. And a lot of his best advice is here in this book, as well as some excellent thoughts about education and how to educate yourself and arm yourself with the kind of knowledge and skills that you'll need in the future. So this next book is called Make It Stick, and it's basically the gold standard for books on learning, reading comprehension, studying, like doing really well in school, holding on to more of what you read, and being able to apply it in the real world. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this one or the other books, but one thing that I'll say here is that everything you want is on the other side of effort and sacrifice. In life, we tend to appreciate what we worked really hard to earn. And when it comes to education and learning and increasing your intelligence, we remember what we struggled to learn. Things like highlighting passages in books, which you'd think would work really well, but they show that it's not very effective at all for studying. They give several much more effective alternatives, two of which are spaced repetition and forced recall. So this next one I feel pretty strongly about, and it's called Excellent Sheep by William Deresiewicz. He used to be a professor at Yale, and so this book is all about whether there's a point anymore to going to university, and it's not immediately obvious that there is. Now, for context, I went to university here in Canada. I have a philosophy degree. I do not regret that whatsoever. University was, 6 of the greatest years of my entire life. Could have been 4, but let's not talk about that. Point is, I had a fantastic time. And a lot of the benefits that I received that I think most people gain from university is not found inside the classroom. It's about the people that you meet there, like the friends that you make for life. Like the people I'm still connected with years and years later. And my third year of university, for example, I took this international exchange program, spent 4 months living in Russia. I had my first 3 heavyweight fights over in Russia. I still somehow came back with like an A- average or something like that. I just happened to be in St. Petersburg when one of my favorite bands, Slayer, came to town. Like, none of those amazing memories would have happened if I had not gone to university. But now I'm a full-time book influencer. Like, I don't need a university degree for that. And there are people who make a lot more money than I do online, and they didn't go to university. So if you're thinking that it's like the only thing that like you have to do this if you want to be, financially successful and set yourself up, like it's just not true. Like, you don't have to go. And it can even be harmful, like he says in the book, and especially the process of kind of preparing yourself to university. A lot of parents pressure their kids into all of these, extracurricular extracurricular activities and things like that, that like there's no purpose to them other than to make them look good on a university application. Like that's the only thing that they're doing it for. They don't enjoy it. It's not like serving them. They're not going to remember it. And like they're just doing it to, get into Yale, which is where he taught. He lays out such a phenomenal case, both for going and not going. I can't recommend this one highly enough. Any sort of discussion about intelligence and, making your way in the world, it has to include this book. I thought it was fantastic. And yeah, the next book here is by my friend Nick Velasquez, and it's one of the better books out there on skill acquisition and learning. And Nick says, learning is the greatest power of the human mind. Everything we've built, everything we've created, everything we've become has been the result of our ability to learn. And this great power is inherent in all of us. We are made to learn. So in this book, he basically pulls back the curtain on skill acquisition and shows us how we can gain expertise and achieve high proficiency in basically anything that we set our minds to. There's a specific process that you have to follow if you want to learn most effectively, and he lays out the entire process in this book. This next book, speaking of philosophy degrees and university and whether you should go, the next one is called Not for Profit by Martha Nussbaum, and she is one of the most brilliant philosophers, alive today. She's just a wonderful writer and thinker. The subject here is about the decline of interest in the humanities and philosophy and things like that. The things that won't directly lead to, a six-figure salary, at least, not in the obvious way that a lot of people expect. And I mean, so many people, like if you have a similar degree as I do, like, philosophy, or like it's not immediately obvious how you're going to afford food and clothes, then this book is definitely for you because it'll really get you thinking about the vital importance of some of those disciplines and how different the world would be, and much, much worse if they were to disappear. To lose these subjects, to have people be less interested in these things over time and ignore this huge part of life would really be a tragedy. And that's what this book is about. Moving on, we come to one of my favorite books about reading. It's called Reader Come Home by Marianne Wolfe. Now, she is a neuroscientist, and in this book, I heard a very sad, striking fact, and that's in the United States, the Bureau of Prisons uses fourth grade reading statistics to accurately predict how many prison beds they'll need in the future. Now, that's just one small part in this book, but if you care about, children's education and, setting your own children up for success in life and maintaining the kind of society where reading skills aren't evaporating because of people overly relying on technology and things like that, you're definitely going to want to read this book. And one of the most fascinating facts from this book is that there's no reading gene. The reading circuit in the brain has to be intentionally, rigorously cultivated, especially in the early years, and nothing about that process is guaranteed. It's actually in danger because of how much we're relying on technology and devices when we should really just be reading more physical books and just reading more at all. It's something that's really endangered, and he talks about that extremely eloquently in the book. Everything that we want is on the other side of helping as many people, children especially, learn to read. Ironically enough, this video has gone on a little bit longer than I expected. Your attention span is kind of probably drifting a little bit, so Stolen Focus is the next one that I'm going to recommend, and it's about the 12 causes of what he calls the attention crisis. The truth is that you are living in a system that is pouring acid on your attention every day, and then you are being told to blame yourself and to fiddle with your own habits while the world's attention burns. So that's a pretty dramatic way of putting it, but he's also not wrong. Like readers like you and I, we are, Henry James in a TikTok world. And there's so many forces, some of them intentional, some of them just a byproduct of other good things that are happening. But regardless, it's contributing to the attention crisis that he talks about. And so he covers the 12 causes, some partial remedies, some things that you can do. And really, if you want to increase your intelligence, a lot of it just comes down to not burning away your attention and your ability to focus. Because if you can't focus on anything for an extended period of time, it doesn't matter how high your IQ is, like you're not going to be effective, or like you're not going to do anything worthwhile or really experience the vividness and richness of life that's available to every single one of us if we can just, pay attention and not be dragged by algorithms wherever they want to go, not where we want to go. That brings me to the second last book here. It's called Proust and the Squid by Marianne Wolfe. Now, we met her before with her book, Reader Come Home, and it's also about reading acquisition, some of the things that go wrong in the whole reading process, and just how critically important it is for parents to read to their kids, for adults to maintain their reading habit and their interest in learning new things across time. There's just so much covered in this book and that last one. And if you want to increase your intelligence and the intelligence of your kids, definitely read Proust and the Squid. Now, before we get to the last book, I mentioned how I'm a full-time book influencer. This is what I do literally every single day. I'm sharing great books on the internet and getting paid really, really well to do it. And inside my private community on School, I teach other educational content creators how to do it too. The community is called Creator Launch Academy, and that's where I teach every single thing that you need to know about, building an audience, monetizing that audience, positioning yourself as a credible expert that people want to listen to and pay for their expertise and services. And if you want to go full time as a creator like I have, then that's definitely the place that you want to be. And you're more than welcome. The link to sign up is the first link in the video description. Now, this final book, The Anthology of Balaji, is like holding a revelation. It's by the same author as The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. This one is a collection of the sayings, wisdom, advice from Balaji Srinivasan, a very, very forward-thinking, brilliant technologist with just a fantastic view of the future and where humanity is heading and what kind of skills that you'll need to survive in the human future that's coming. And it's one of the most fascinating books that I've ever read. I have pages and pages and pages of notes from this book, just on and on. I've actually written a full breakdown of this book too, not just my notes, but a breakdown of all the key ideas, action steps, everything that you'll need from this book, and that's down in the video description as well. But the book itself covers 3 main themes. So in the first part, technology, you'll see how technology shapes our world today and ways it could shape our future. In the section called Truth, you learn how to think for yourself through the constant clamor and noise of information and media. And then finally, in Building the Future, the final section of the book, you'll learn how to wield technology and truth to change your life, change your community, and maybe change the future of our species. That last paragraph I read is just the Amazon description, but this book is just spectacular. And like I said, I took so many notes from this book. It's kind of insane. Again, they're all down in the video description. They're all free. You can just have them. You don't have to enter your email address or anything. You can if you want to sign up to my newsletter. It's called The Reading Life. We've got 5,500 people receiving my best book recommendations every single week. But if you just want my notes from all these books, you can just have them. No email address is asked. And if you want a 1-sentence summary of every personal finance book, it's in this video right here. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. And always remember, bookmarks are for quitters.
I don't waste time, no, I make time. All these people wanna hate, fine, I'ma make mine. While you sitting there complaining, I'll be training. While you sitting there just waiting, I'm creating.